Going live. Hey, that's a good view. You're live.
We are? Are we really live?
We are.
Okay. Well, let me throw this shit over here. Are you sure you want that far?
Here, we should pull it closer.
I'm not trying to show my legs. Come
Oh,
on now.
okay.
We're not.
American flag behind us, looking all.
America at the beach. As always, let's first check and see if anyone can actually hear us. 1, if anyone's here. 2, if anyone can hear us. And 3, if anyone can see us. You get a confirmation on all those things. Then I'll start spouting poetically about
Guess we should
nonsensical nothing.
Up a little bit.
What do you want to do? Yeah.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
Nobody needs to see me in board shorts.
Well, that's why I was angling it higher. So
I'm just saying, let's get a confirmation. I think that was yours because I was
Yes.
drinking water, right? I was trying to sober up before this tasting. So that one's yours. I don't know what's in it.
Cindy Cook says we can see. Can you hear us?
Thank you, Cindy Cook.
Do we have audio?
Audio. I can't see. I see that bar happening right
Yeah,
there.
maybe we need to turn it up. I don't know how it works. Let's see. Nope. That's good. This way? Okay.
We've done this before. I don't.
Not with this computer, no. I've never done this before.
Oh, this is a brand new computer. Okay.
Is the moon behind you? Oh, it is. Hey.
The moon right there, right
crazy.
beside the. Is it a palm tree or a palmetto tree? It's the state. This is basically the state flag of South Carolina right here. This damn tree with a moon above it. Isn't that the little symbol on their flag?
It is, yeah. So they can see us, they can hear us.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in, Cindy. I'm sure you're the only one here.
Ryan Hagen said hi as well.
And Ryan, hello, Ryan. We are coming to you live 200 feet from the Atlantic Ocean in a place called Folly Beach, South Carolina, just outside of Charleston. If you're in Charleston and you made a beeline for the Atlantic Ocean, Folly is one of the places you'd hit first.
Yes.
A delightful, quaint, I call it like a 1950s beach town. Well, because so many, there's no huge hotels, there's no chains on this island. None.
There is a Subway, but that was grandfathered in.
And
It came before they actually outlawed chains.
Subway's getting ready to go bankrupt.
They actually outlawed for their laws, no chains.
Well, that's Subway's barely a chain. Subway's a poor excuse for people who really desperately need sandwiches. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't even count. So it's I call it a circa 1950s beach town in that it still has that classic feel. Most of the homes are still owned by individuals who it's their primary residence that they lease out during the summer. None of the building, I shouldn't say none, very few of the houses down here are above 2 stories. Very few. I mean, you can drive all the way down. Yeah. These kind of beachy newer houses are 3 stories, but they're still fairly rare compared to the little 1-story we're staying in.
Yeah.
Right on the beach, or I should say 1 block off the beach, or I should say a half block off the beach.
We
can be in the beach in 45 seconds if we want to.
She loves Folly Beach.
Folly Beach, it's pretty rocking, and they've got a pretty good food scene too. Again, no big 5-star fancy ass places, but the places they got here really push themselves creatively, even though they're small, almost bar type restaurants, but they're quite good. You're not even ready for this yet.
Ready
I'm drinking water. Watch that. That shit's gone. So that's where we're coming live from, and we want to assure all of our clientele that while Myrtle Beach is now the new petri dish for coronavirus on the entire eastern seaboard, Folly Beach, all the beaches are apparently not great places in terms of limiting the spread of COVID. But I can assure you, I've now come in contact with fewer humans here than I have in the last 3 months. Yeah. We just haven't been near anybody because we're so close to the beach. We pretty much just party here, grill here, and walk 30 seconds to the beach and get away from everybody else there. So somehow, even in an epicenter for the spread of the virus here in summertime, I feel safer here than I would if I was still back in Blacksburg because we're not even getting near anyone here. Anyway, that's what we're up to. What are you all up to, wherever you're tuning in from, to watch a couple of fools here before we get back in the water at Folly Beach?
Yeah, did anybody else get the beach bum flight? Or did anybody try any of the cocktails that our team was all about? We were kind of curious about that. Is any of our team here? Jason, Cassandra, John Hall?
Oh, let's hope they're not. Let's hope they're all doing something much more creative than watching us.
Probably. You never know.
Anyway, yeah. Any comments? Any we need to shout out to or comments from the gallery?
No.
Good.
Not so far.
That's fine. We're gonna actually keep this fairly brief today, since it's just me and Katie, not the rest of our crew, and we're this close to a beach, and we're hoping that the weather there in Blacksburg or wherever you're at is as gorgeous as it is here. So I don't know that we'll make it an entire happy hour today. Let's power half happy hour. That's what we're thinking. Because I'm going straight into the water as soon as I crush a half bottle of each of these three wines.
Because these are so crushable. These are great.
Crushable! And that's the whole point. That's the name of this flight that we crafted for you this week. It's Beach Bummable higher end wine. Now, when you think about the term beach bum or just beach bummable wine or bum wine, that might elicit a variety of wines, none of which you probably drink that often, if ever. Certainly, probably not since you were 16 years old. So when we think of bum wines, we think of the stuff that's in 7-Elevens, what used to be in 7-Elevens and other cheap convenience store situations. But that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And there's so many wines, and our society drinks so many different wines now. And the quality of wines is not only increased, but the variety and availability of those wines is radically increased. So bum wines, we can now say almost as a joke of like, well, nobody drinks Thunderbird anymore. No one drinks Mad Dog 2020. Because if you do, boy, you're seriously desperate. You should just go get some moonshine.
I wasn't thinking when we did bum. I wasn't thinking that.
I just wanted to launch this little tirade by talking about bum wines, because there actually is a thing online, I think, called bumwines.com, where you can go see all of the old school bum wines rated by sommeliers, or at least fake sommeliers. So beach bum wines, that's bum wines, and no one really drinks those anymore. That's a product of a bygone era. So beach bum wines, what we've crafted, are wines that are absolutely, eminently quaffable, crushable in summer heat.
Yes.
In summer heat. And so before I go any further, before I tell you what me and Katie think, what the most quaffable, crushable wines are in summer heat, let me ask you all, what qualities of wine, of any wine, would you seek out if you knew you were going to be sitting outside in 100-degree heat? I'm assuming you're probably not gravitating towards any big red Bordeaux's or Napa Valley Cabs.
Hope not.
Hey, to each his own. But then, of course, that means we would gravitate more towards something white. But what qualities of white do you gravitate towards in summer heat? If you're out on the lake, you're out on a boat on a lake, if you're here on the beach in the summertime on the sand, what kinds of wines would you people reach for? And I'm not talking specific brand names, just what are the qualities in the glass that you'd be seeking out if you are sitting still and sweating outside? What types of wine are you trying to get?
These bottles are sweating anyway.
I just brought them out 2 minutes ago. Does anybody have any feedback on bottles to drink while sitting and sweating?
So Ryan says we like sweet wines in the summer.
I do not disagree with that, especially if they're absolutely ice cold.
Yep.
Ice.
And Cindy likes
Ice,
more
baby.
citrus flavors.
Citrus. That's why Sauvignon Blanc is usually so popular as a quaffable summer wine, because that edge of like a grapefruit or a citrus brings a refreshing, cleansing component to the palate.
Cindy's at crisp, yeah. So
Crisp.
Acidic.
And by crisp, you actually mean acidic, that it has a nice acidic backbone. Again, crushable because it's clean. You can be eating any food. And honestly, when you think about it, if you're out in the heat eating, the food is almost inconsequential. You just kind of want something to wash. Just a good wine to wash that down and get it out of your way to get on with the next thing. So I agree with everybody's assessments, palate selections. And I would tell Ryan, and everybody, for those that don't gravitate towards sweet wines naturally, which is most of us, quite frankly, they do have a satisfying component in the summertime.
Especially with spicy food. Ooh.
With spicy food, but especially if you get a sweet wine that has an acidic backbone. Mm-hmm. The acid and sugar go together and help balance something, and both of those things help fill the palate to make something that's satisfying to you. Yeah. That's why lemonade is so good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you think about homemade lemonade or limeade. Oh, come on now. How about key lime?
Ooh.
Limeade.
We need to make some here.
We just had a key lime, fresh baked local key lime pie. And you forget what key lime is all about until you have a local pie made from actual key lime. Yeah. For those of you that don't know what key lime is, you think all limes are the same. I'm just sorry for your life. I'm just sorry. You need to get out more and find an actual key lime, see what it tastes like.
I think we had to bring one back.
But limeade and lemonade are so great because when you get them ice cold, they got the sweet and they have the acid, and it's just refreshing. And that brings us back. Oh, and also Ryan and everyone else, when you get sweet things really, really, really cold, here's what happens to them. They become less sweet. Mm-hmm. So when you drink a sweet wine, when you drink a sweet anything at room temperature, and then you pair that right next to the same beverage that's ice cold out of a freezer, the one that's super cold will actually, to your palate, you will say this isn't as sweet. It's the same beverage, but cooling things decreases the perception of sweetness. They have the same amount of sugar, but the palate's perception is that it's not as sweet. So I am backing up Ryan's play. Super ice cold stuff in summertime that has the sweetness is actually really refreshing too. Even for those of us that don't naturally go to something like that, try it with wines. We didn't pick a sweet or even a semi-sweet wine, but we have wines here that have great acidic backbone, something everybody pointed out. They have a great crispness to them. They have a great freshness to them. And when they're cold, you can just pour them on your face. And that's what I meant by beach bum wines. Wines that, whether I'm eating food, which would be a light, snacky food here on the beach, or not eating any food at all, these are wines that I can just sit and pound and pound and pound and pound because they're lower alcohol. They're clean on the palate. They have that great, bright, fresh acidity that's crisp, that it pops. And it's ultimately satisfying to you whether you have a glass or 3 bottles, which we're getting ready to do. Starting now, our first pick for Beach Bum Wines is something called La Jade. That's the label. That's the producer. Picpoul de Penne. Picpoul de Penne. I'm sure I'm hackneying that pronunciation, and it doesn't matter. Picpoul is a fab little wine that I had never heard of till about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Never heard of it. It is interesting in that we talked about this earlier, Katie. What does Picpoul mean?
To me, it means the grape. And then John was like, what else? And I was like, and the region?
And the region. It's one of the few little bizarre nomenclatures, naming conventions of the French that I'm sure there's probably some others, but I don't know them off the top of my head. Picpoul is the name of the grape, and you may hear it as Picpoul or Picpoul or Pic de Poule. There's a whole bunch of variations on the name, or Picpoul Blanc, because there's also a Picpoul Noir. So there's a red version of this grape, and this is the white version of the grape, and they're two different, genetically different grapes. But Picpoul Blanc is the name of the grape, and for whatever reasons, and I think it's a modern naming, there is this region of Languedoc. It's a very small little dinky area, I believe, in central or
Pomerol?
western. No, it's not Pomerals. It's Pomerals is the name. It's another naming convention.
Okay.
I don't even know what Pomerals
Okay.
means.
Sorry.
Pomerol is
I know. So I
from
was like,
Bordeaux.
yeah, so I thought I was like, why did I say that?
Picpoul de Pinet is a little dink ass region down in Languedoc, and I think it's central. It's either central or southwestern Languedoc. For those of you that don't know the geography, Languedoc is this huge region of France, one of the main wine producing regions of France. It has a bunch of sub districts, a whole ton of them. Languedoc is so undervalued because Languedoc actually is the biggest wine producing region of France. The biggest. I think it produces 1/3 of all French wine every year.
So it also has
Every year.
It also has its own website called Picpoul de Pinet is the website. So that's gotta be huge. How much?
They're their own little sub region of
The
Languedoc.
cost of that alone to get this website. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And for those of you that have sided with Languedoc, I've never had a Languedoc wine. They actually probably have because they produce just tons and tons and tons of stuff. And you might not have had a named sub-region of Languedoc that's super famous and super expensive because they're not actually known for doing a lot of expensive wines. They're more known for their Vin de Pays classification. That's VIN space DE space Pays, PAYS. Vin de Pays is a whole classification of the French wine production. So AOC is the top tier. That's like the famous regions. Bordeaux is an AOC, and all the sub-regions like Pomerol, that's its own AOC. Alsace is an AOC. Champagne is an AOC. That's the top tier of the French wine or naming nomenclature. But Vin de Pays is the next step down, and it pretty much just means wines of this area.
Yeah.
So it's not special and high-priced. Vin de Pays is, there's a Vin de Pays of Alsace. There's a Vin de Pays of Bordeaux. There's a Vin de Pays of Burgundy. It just means secondary tier wine, some grapes from this general area. And I'm telling you this because you're probably familiar with Languedoc wines and you didn't know it until I tell you this right now. That Vin de Pays of Languedoc, so there's Vin de Pays of lots of different places. Vin de Pays of Languedoc is shortened to Vin de Pays D of Languedoc, which is further shortened to Vin de Pays D with an apostrophe, Oc. So they take the whole Langua out and they just put Vin de Pays Doc, which is further shortened to Pays de Doc. You've probably seen this on fairly inexpensive bottles. And it's just like Vin de Pays de Doc. Who's the doctor? Who is the doc that's Vin de Pays de Doc? That just means a general, well-produced wine of the region of Languedoc. And those things, they produce mega tons of the stuff every year. That's usually priced between $7 and $10, and it's just a Vin de Pays de Doc. Pays de Doc wine. This one is not, by the way. This is a named sub-region of Languedoc.
Let's talk about this wine.
Let's talk about the wine now that I've given you some trivia to chew on while
I get a lot of citrus.
I love this wine. Ever since the first time I had Picpoul, I'm like, sold. Picpoul is most often described as bright, sometimes searing acidity, although this one's pretty light. A crisp. Everyone calls these crisp.
Yes.
Easy. I'd say low alcohol. I'd be shocked if it was above 11%. Maybe it's 12, but it's nothing huge, even though it's from the hot wine growing region, Languedoc
13%.
I stand corrected. It's 13. Languedoc is a hot region, being way down there. Again, Languedoc is the southernmost fringe of France, borders Spain. The whole Languedoc region is so huge that it spans from the French-Spanish border all the way until you run into the Rhone, basically, into Provence. So it's a really big place. And it's mostly known for red wines, Pays de Doc, easy, cheap red wines. But, man, these whites are great.
Yeah, these are delicious.
it's such a hot region. They must harvest these things like super early. This is probably the first grapes they pull off the vine every year to keep that huge acidity going.
Yeah.
What does everybody else get? So Katie said lemon lime. I just said crisp and bright. And other than that, let me see if I can find any other flavors.
Sean says hi.
It's just delicious. Oh, Sean. Hey, Sean.
It's actually like a little bit of creaminess. Maybe because it's just like a little warmer and it's just warmed up a little bit. It has
Warming up fast out here. It's like
I know.
100 degrees.
It's like a little creaminess on the back end, but has that acidity and just I get citrus. I just get
Let's get the pucker and you get into the back of your throat too. And it's just like, keep it on ice. Twice as nice. Drink it all day long. And we have. This is our 4th bottle. We were holding off trying to save 1 bottle. But this is such an eminent beach bum wine. We put it into a hydro flask.
not this one. I mean, I made sure we kept
the other
wine.
bottle. The other bottle we did.
I had to make sure I kept these 3 bottles from us drinking them earlier
Because we drank the rest of them already. And our hydro flask holds a whole bottle and a few ice cubes. And just sitting in the surf drinking this stuff.
Yeah, this is easy.
Okay.
Oh.
The thing about beach bum wines is there's no great elaboration on the aromas and flavors. This tasting is built for simplicity and cleanness. So I don't have a whole lot more to say about it.
Sean said, I can see pelicans behind you. So they have this weird, crazy thing here on Folly that they the pelicans have a highway behind us to go over the building. So they all go the same direction. So they all go up on the right and come back on the right. It's a highway and they all have their same spots and they usually go in groups of 10 to 15. It's crazy. It's really interesting.
I'll agree to anything. I never look at the birds. I'm afraid they're going to shit on me. You ready for the next one?
Yes, hang on.
Remember, we're in the accelerated hurry up offense power happy half hour.
Cindy said she likes it better as it warms up. The pig pool.
Yeah. It actually changes significantly what Katie said about the creaminess coming out. When you have it super cold, all you get is acid. And remember what I said about 20 minutes ago in a rant. The cooler you get things, it suppresses
Flavors,
the sensation of sweetness.
Yep.
So it would also suppress the sensation of creaminess.
Yeah.
And these things are heating up so quickly. We literally just took these out of the freezer and they're already at the room temperature. So
hold up.
The next one in our Beach Bum series of wines we can pour on our face is called Eidelsvika. I love this wine from Wolfberger. Wolfberger is the name of the producer, and they are from Alsace, Alsatian, for those that like the A pronounced in the high fashion. A Vin d'Alsace. Remember what I said about Vin de Pays d'Ac? This is a Vin de Pays of Alsace. Oh, look what I just did there. You learned something, and now we've already reapplied it. So a Vin de Pays, which means, it's not, it may be from a fancy vineyard, but it's not from the premier cru vineyards. It's not from a vineyard that's so special that we're going to charge $100 a bottle for it, which many vineyards in Alsace do, because they do have Grand Cru designations and cru designations on the vineyard block itself.
Yeah.
So if you're from a special vineyard in Alsace and it's a Grand Cru vineyard, you can put the words Grand Cru Riesling on your label, and then you can charge $50. This is a Vin de Pays from Alsace, and it's only like $12, or is it 15 or 20? I can't remember, but it's actually a liter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a liter bottle, so a little bigger.
It's a liter bottle, so a bottle plus another quarter of a bottle.
And we got the privilege of trying this one back in February. We went to a warehouse tasting. We actually have the pig pool and this one from the same distributor. And we smelled this one and we're
love it.
What is this? We love this producer. We love their Pinot Blanc we serve often at the bar.
Wolfberger Pinot Blanc we've done by the glass on and off for a year and a half.
We had never tried this before and we're like, what?
What's an Eidelsvika? What does that mean?
And then we smelled it and that honeysuckle. Actually,
So before I tell you what it means, let's all two of you in the chat room tell me what you smell. What is it you get from this? See if you can guess a grape, and I'll give you a hint. It's not one grape. So just fire off some descriptors, and maybe if any of you have a hypothetical, a hypothesis, an educated guess of what grapes might be in here. If you know Alsace at all, you probably can narrow the field of what grapes are in here fairly quickly. For those not in the know, we are going from Languedoc in the deep southern fringe of France, bordering the Mediterranean, and we're going to the other side of France. We're going all the way north to one of the most northernmost growing regions of France, near the German border. In fact, the Alsatian region, given any specific historical time period, used to belong to Germany, then it belonged to France, then it belonged to Germany, then it belonged to France, then it belonged to Germany. Now France has got it back. So that's where Alsace is, cooler climate. So you already can kind of start to predict what types of grapes are grown there, mostly white, and what the acidic profile of those grapes might be in a much cooler climate. But does anybody have any guesses or sensations of smells and aromas and flavors?
He is getting lemon.
Lemon I got.
And it's funny you said lemony, because for some reason, ideas get planted in your head, but I was like, ooh, lemon pledge. I don't know why. It's not a bad thing. I like lemon pledge. But I get a little bit of that on the nose.
I wouldn't. Yes, I can see the lemon pledge. I'd go for lemon dum-dums. I get a little lemon dum-dum sucker on it, which is a little bit of that saccharin. It doesn't taste sweet, but it has that kind of almost fake lemon flavor to it.
So like honey, like a little bit of honey.
I get honeysuckle.
Yeah. White flower.
White
has
flower.
That good creamy. That seems like it's
white peach.
Yeah, peach.
Yeah, but not peachy. White peach, like an underripe white peach. Little stone fruit, maybe an underripe apple. Just a hint.
Yeah, to the uninitiated, people would like just because we teach wine class and I read a lot of wine students' blogs. They would say this is sweet. This is a sweet one, and it'd be like, no, this is.
It's bone dry.
No, this is not a sweet one at all. It's fruity. But this would be a wine that I'd have novice students would say, I drank something sweet. It's like.
And I'll bring up what I brought up last time that everybody in the chat room told me to stop talking about, which is I asked you all last week, how many people think that this wine, I can't remember what we were tasting, but I'm like, how many people think this tastes sweet? And everybody said, no, it don't taste sweet. Shut up. But I would say the same thing about this wine because it has so many unctuous aromas. Yeah. There's a lot going on here in the floral and stone fruit palette and honeysuckle. And I'll tip my hat here. You may pick up a little bit of lychee fruit if you know what that is.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so this wine is made from a variety of grapes that have floral components. And when you put them all together, it can seem like a lot is going on on the palate weight-wise, but it's actually just all aromas. Yeah. So it's totally dry. There's no sweetness.
Did we mention the grapes?
I have not. Yeah. I was waiting for people to guess. Come on, Sean. Where's Matt at? Somebody make a guess. Make an educated guess.
Sean is using Matt's account, but
I know. That's why I wanted to make fun of Matt. I would only make fun of Matt if he's not here. I take it back. I only make fun of Matt when he's here.
So there are 4 grapes. We already mentioned one, which we mentioned we've gotten from this.
Riesling is king of Alsace.
The one we were just talking about before we got from this.
Pinot Blanc.
Yep.
So this is a Riesling Pinot Blanc Gewürztraminer.
And my favorite. Always sticks out to me.
And probably not Pinot Meunier.
No, you got it. Honeysuckle.
I said Gewürz, didn't I? Gewürz. Muscat and a hint of muscat.
Yep. So the blend is 40% Pinot Blanc.
Oh, I thought it was 40% Riesling.
No, 40% Pinot Blanc, 30% Riesling. So it's very close. 15% Gewürztraminer and 15% Muscat. So those.
Damn. Yep. I did decent then. I thought it was Riesling based. I'm getting a really good acidity on the back end of this now.
Wow,
it took me to the third sip to get to that.
White peach? That's so weird.
I said white peach.
That's what their description is. You're on
Well,
it.
you do this long enough, the same terms keep coming up. It's not
That's
rocket science. I don't like peach. So when I get a wine that
Yeah.
tastes like peach, I'm like, nope, I'm all good. But this is like an underripe white peach. You just
Yeah.
get elements of that flavor profile, but not peach itself. It's like pre-peach.
it
It's a pre-peach flavor
seems
that I really like.
appropriate.
We'll love pre-peach, hate peach. I actually just can't stand peach.
So,
I'm that way with apples. I love apples. I hate everything else made from apples. I've never
they're
been
saying
apple
this
juice,
one's-
apple sauce, apple pie. Don't like just like apples.
So this one's lower in alcohol than Pigpool. So this was 11.5.
That's what I would have guessed for Pigpool, but I should have been smart enough. I can teach you now. I should have been smart enough to know Pigpool is from southern France, a very hot climate.
Yeah.
Grapes can grow gangbusters, and even when harvested early, they'll have a lot more sugars. The same grapes grown under the same conditions up in Alsace for the same amount of time would be underripe and totally useless and wouldn't have enough
Yeah.
sugars. And that's the difference between a cool growing climate and a hot growing climate. So what's that mean for alcohol? The same type of light white wine from southern France is 2 to 3% higher in alcohol than this wine, simply because it's from the north. I love them both. And we chose these because Pigpool is super clean and just chuggable. This one's super clean and chuggable, but it has a lot more interesting aromas and perfume flavors going on. But it's still eminently quaffable to me.
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh, and I should tell you what this stuff means too. Right, when I saw this, I thought Edelzwicker was some sort of grape that I never heard of, because that happens all the time. There's so many grapes, and I'm like, who the hell can keep up? There's millions of grapes. And you all know me. I'm not a wine snob, and I'm not even a connoisseur. People are like, oh, have you not had this grape? I'm like, from Slovenia? Why the hell would I know that? No, I don't know that weird ass grape that no one's ever heard of before. So when I saw Edelzwicker, I'm like, oh, it must be some grape I've never heard of before. But that's odd because Alsace only produces kind of the classic varieties. So the research I did is that Edel means noble, and Zwicker means blended. Okay, it's a noble blend. What the hell does that mean? I actually went and searched this online because I'm now so old. When I started teaching wine class 20 years ago, when I started talking about grapes, I used to have a slide that said, here are the 20 or 25 noble grapes. You remember this?
Yes.
And so for a very long time, it was common nomenclature in wine circles that there was the noble grapes. And for all intents and purposes, they're the 20 most recognized grapes.
Yeah.
They're the 20 grapes that make all the big famous wines. And I'll name off a few to you. Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Riesling. If you went into any wine store and surveyed the entire inventory, 99% of any wine store pretty much has the 20 grapes, the 20 nobles. They're the most popular, the most famous. Now, we all might like other lesser known grapes, but that don't mean that that's the majority of what's being produced. So the noble grapes, I as soon as I understood that Edelzwicker meant noble blend, I'm like, oh, I got it. Noble grapes.
Yeah.
A blend of the noble grapes, and all white ones. What did we say? Riesling, Pinot Blanc, Gewürztraminer, and Muscat. Yep, they all make the noble category. But I went out to test my own knowledge, and I said, well, before we do this podcast, let me go see what they're calling the noble grapes of today. And I challenge you all. I went and searched it, and I can't find the terminology anymore. I was like, noble grapes, list of noble grapes. Nothing. Not on Wikipedia, nothing. I'm like, oh. So it's a product of my age. It's like, oh, that's nomenclature that's fallen out of general use. It's not even on the internet. I'm sure you can find it somewhere, but it won't be in the first 20 pages that pop up. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
We've now gotten past the idea that these 20 grapes are the only 20 special grapes. And I kind of like that.
Huh.
Nonetheless, Edelzwicker, the noble blend, because Alsace is old school and it's French. Ha, 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 ha. They eat croissants.
Yes.
And they go by the old school nomenclature.
Yeah.
The noble. blended white.
So, Sean was asking, tell us what we've eaten to go with our wines that we brought to the beach.
Again,
Tomato sandwiches.
tomato sandwiches every day.
Yes.
Have we drank wine with those though?
Maybe it was breakfast. But we've had a lot of seafood, so we've done some tuna steaks, some shrimp.
Tuna steaks multiple times, shrimps multiple times, and it's only been day 4.
Yeah, we've had a lot of seafood.
But honestly, I don't believe
the
we've
pickles.
had these wines with food.
I'm sure we have. No.
No, again, the whole intent was that these are wines that you don't need anything with. I take it back. I had a little bit of the pick pool with Katie. Katie got into making bread, making homemade bread. So I just get a big chunk of bread in the summertime for breakfast. All I want is a big chunk of bread, homemade bread, and a chunk of any decent cheese and a little bit of fruit. And I had pick pool with that. And it's just out here on the balcony. I'm like, what else do I need?
Yep.
I'm not sure what other humans are doing. I don't get what their lives are about anymore. That's what happens to you at the beach. It's happened to all of you, hasn't it? You go to the beach and you're like, I'm never leaving. I'm gonna turn my life around. I'm gonna change my lifestyle, and I'm gonna start eating healthy and eat Mediterranean cuisine and
never leave. Yep.
And never leave. And then 2 weeks later, you're eating at McDonald's back in Blacksburg. But I mean, not me. He's talking about you. So sorry for the terrible answer, Sean, but these are wines that I knew I was going to literally sneak onto the beach, because this beach is no alcohol permitted, no glass bottles, no alcohol, period. So wines that I was predicting I was going to pour into a frozen hydro flask and take to the beach in 100-degree heat and sit and drink. I ain't eating food in 100-degree heat with sand around me, but I will drink my food. So we have not done any pairing. Given the floral, muscat, and Gewürztraminer components of this particular wine, I would have this with Thai food all day long.
Yep.
I would get this ice baby cold and have it with a hot Thai dish or a hot Vietnamese dish. Any Southeast Asian cuisine that uses lemongrass, I would pound this wine with it.
So you say that was like Jack Cups, have been so good.
Jack and Cups, we're getting ready to head there. But I'm now failing at my half-hour party hour. Are we to 30 minutes yet?
We were at 7:37. So
crap!
37 minutes.
I'm 7 minutes over. Let's hurry up and destroy this wine, so that you good people can get back.
We're like in like
to
a
not
God
bothering.
Bless America, like this flag behind me.
That's actually why I set the camera up here. Trump America, baby. Trump America.
This won't stop.
Everything's better than it was. By the way, I'm not political. Don't care. Don't pay attention. But I wish some Democratic strategist would hit me up, because I'm now been alive on this earth long enough to know what Joe Biden should be saying already. Or maybe he's holding this. He's holding this for the debates. Okay. Oh, I don't care if you like Trump or not. This is a brilliant thing, and I'm going to test the 3 people in the chat room. This was a famous political slogan that actually helped the person who came up with it get elected. And I think it's applicable again right now. Who said something to this effect? Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Whose campaign slogan was that? And it definitely got them elected, and it definitely applies right now. Who in their right mind could say, I'm better off right this second than I was 4 years ago? It's not even all Trump's fault, by the way. It's COVID, and it's decline of the economy because of COVID. But who in their right mind could say life is better now than it was in 2016? Yeah. It's the perfect, I don't care who you support, it's the perfect campaign slogan right now for Biden. It's perfect.
Is it old school or is it like recent?
I
was gonna say
nobody's
JFK,
guessed yet. I have an inclination who said it.
I guess we JFK or
no, it's not that old. It would have been since the 70s or earlier. It's not like Abe Lincoln.
Okay.
In fact, I think it's the 80s. That's why I'm not even sure myself because I powered through.
Guess Reagan. And then Sean saying, I remember it, but I can't remember who said it. So,
Anybody else have a guess?
Laura Oganowski said Reagan as well.
I believe it's Reagan as well. I believe it's the tagline he used against Carter. And it was spot on. And I like Jimmy Carter. But anybody who lived through that era is like, Jimmy Carter was one of the greatest American humans ever and one of the worst presidents ever. And he oversaw an absolute economic decline that was not all his fault, but partly his fault. His 4 years was economic tanking, was national debt going through the roof, slight political turmoil, the hostage crisis in Iran, the U.S. diminishing in foreign affairs, the U.S. being smeared on the global stage for being ineffectual. And I'm like looking at going, Biden's people better dust that one off, man. I don't care if you love Donald Trump. It's hard to dispute that nothing's better than it was 4 years ago. I just like it because it's like, oh man, that's a good tagline. That's really good. That's a really good tagline. And Reagan just kept saying it. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? It's a testament to, hey, that dude was in charge for 4 years. Did your life get better?
Well,
do you want to do another 4 years of it?
Might get better with this wine.
Might get better with this wine because I do love this wine. Hang on.
Yep. We just discovered this wine
by accident
2 weeks ago, right? Yeah. So we have people or distributors come to us all the time with samples, and
our third
lovely lady Poopy from International Cellars brought us this one. She's amazing.
Our third and final wine of the Power Half Hour Happy Hour is a rosé from Sarasuolo di Abruzzo. Sarasuolo di Abruzzo. Sarasuolo, I don't even know what the hell that means. I think it means red or cherry or pink or deep pink or ruby. It's Italian.
All of those.
It's Italian. Who the hell knows? But for anybody that's heard me coach them on how to interpret Italian wines, it says Sarasuolo di, the letter D with an apostrophe, Abruzzo. So I don't know what the hell Sarasuolo is, but di Abruzzo means of Abruzzo. From Abruzzo. It's a Sarasuolo di Abruzzo from Abruzzo. So I think it's a deep ruby pink wine from Abruzzo. And Abruzzo is a pretty decent sized wine region directly east of Rome. So the Apennines are a mountain range that run the whole spine of Italy. And Rome's on the west side. The whole region of Abruzzo is right across the mountains over there. And the Apennines are the same as the, say, Blue Ridge Mountains. They're not super high. In fact, any of you that have traveled to Italy, you might have been impressed that when you drive around the hill towns and mountains of central in northern Italy, it looks like Virginia. It just does. They look like the Blue Ridge Mountains in terms of scale and size and scope and vegetation, except their blue comes from olive trees and not from whatever the hell trees we got in Virginia. So Abruzzo, major wine producing region that mostly for you red wine drinking aficionados of Italian wine produces the Montepulciano, a wine grape that I couldn't be happier that I know how to pronounce.
And this one actually is Montepulciano.
This is a Montepulciano rosé.
Yeah.
I've never had one before.
Neither have I. And I think we're all just figuring the Italians are like, no, we only make red wine here. What are we doing a rosé? Like they're like,
no, actually, Abruzzo makes a ton of Trebbiano as well.
Oh yeah,
Trebbiano is a famous white wine of Italy that most of us don't drink.
A rosé? That seems like an odd.
No, this is definitely experimentation in the modern era.
So I was like, this seems odd, especially Montepulciano. Like, were these grapes not good enough for a red wine? Was why they decided to make a rosé?
The Italians have finally caught up with everybody else, so they do a lot more experimentation and doing a lot more styles that the world wants, not just the classic old school stuff that they've been producing for centuries.
I mean, it's a lot darker than any other rosé that I usually would
That's
have.
why I think Sarasuolo means like pink or ruby or cherry or some shit. But here's what I think when I smell this wine.
Yeah.
I'll rant some more about Abruzzo, but let's all taste this wine real quick since the ocean's calling us right now. Maybe it's going to rain, but we're going to go run and get in the ocean.
So,
what do you get, Katie? What do you guys get in the crowd? What do you get when you smell this wine?
Super strawberry, and honestly, I think of Jeanette. Jeanette was like, "This tastes like it smells like that old school bubble gum that you got in the big lick like chew." It was like
Big League Chew in a pouch.
Yeah, in a pouch.
Oh,
and it has like that.
So good.
It has that strawberry bubble gum.
Strawberry, cherry.
Yeah,
I think Saraswella means cherry. I just call this strawberry juice.
Yeah, it's just
strawberry juice. To me, it's the most elemental components of a strawberry that I like.
Yep. I mean, it's like a juicy fruit, like a candy you have. It just keeps going on and on and on.
It's got just a hint of a tannic bite on the back end of it, which keeps it clean. But this is like the yin and yang for the two white wines we had before this. This is made from a red grape, obviously, and it's got more red wine character, but it's fruity without being sweet, which means I can just drink it and drink it and drink it and drink it. Back to Ryan. Again, I talked about how I'm not prejudiced against sweet wines, but I can't drink a lot of sugar because it starts to weigh me down. But this has a lot of the elemental flavors of a sugar juice, but without the sugar.
So I actually remember when I tried this wine, loved it so much, I said, you know what? I would love to have this wine with strawberry pound cake. Pound cake to me is not like super sweet. Like it's like I want the like more dry pound cake. Honestly, pound cake doesn't have a ton of flavor. You just do it like straight up and then put strawberries on it and then serve it with this wine. That's what I had in mind. When I tasted this wine, I was like, that's what I want with it. I want a strawberry.
And you just reminded me of the flavor profile I was trying to describe, and I just say strawberry juice. So I would say, do you remember this? But you can probably get it right now today at any restaurant. Anybody that serves strawberry shortcake, there's like a strawberry syrup that they drizzle. Yeah. That like when you get packed strawberries that are frozen or otherwise, and it has a syrup.
Yep.
That's the elemental components I get from this without the sugar part of it. Yep. It's just so delicious. It's almost one-dimensional, but that's what makes it approachable and easy to drink at the beach.
What do y'all think? Is this a beach bum wine? Did you like our selections? Cindy said it said raspberry on the description.
Raspberry. It does say raspberry somewhere.
I get that too.
I get cherry strawberry.
Yeah, I'm like
heavy on the strawberry, light on the cherry for me. That's just me.
So Sean said she loved all of them.
Thanks, Sean. Wish you were here. Let's find a more remote beach. Where are the remotest beaches on the eastern seaboard we can go to? Obviously, it's where rich people are, but we could sneak in.
Is there a gated community we can...
Is there a gated community we can jump the gate at? I just adore this wine. And back to what it's made of, the Montepulciano is a grape that if you say it with enough authority makes you sound Italian. I would go into any place in Italy and be like, por favor, even though that's Spanish, a Montepulciano.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, this guy must be local. It's a grape. It is the most produced grape out of Abruzzo. You've had a Montepulciano di Abruzzo. I'm sure you have, because we've had it pretty much on tap for the last year and a half at Blacksburg Wine Lab. But it's not to be confused, and here's my last wine trivia off the top of my head. Not to be confused, and it often is, with a Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, which is actually not from Abruzzo. It's from north of Rome, from the Montalcino district, and it's not a Montepulciano at all. It's a Sangiovese. But it's from a town named Montepulciano. So if you see, this is why it's so confusing. I need to do a whole lecture on this just for students.
Yeah.
Montepulciano is such a confusing word because you can only find them one of two ways out of Italy. A rosé of Montepulciano, a Montepulciano di Abruzzo, which would cost you no more than $10 or $15, or a Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, which is $100. And you're like, whoa. What's the difference here? And the thing is like, they're not even remotely related wines. They just have this word that you recognize as Montepulciano. So Montepulciano is a hill town north of Rome in the Montalcino district, famous for high-end Sangiovese wines. Montepulciano is the grape that's grown in Abruzzo, east of Rome.
Yeah.
That's not bad for shit just off the top of my head here at the beach after 4 gallons of wine today. Is it?
Nope.
Okay. Did you all like this live on location happy hour? Because if you like it, that means me and Katie should never come back to Blacksburg and only do these on the road.
Maybe.
I don't know what the weather is in Blacksburg, but it's been not just sunny, but brutally sunny and 100
hot.
degrees here.
Yep.
So we chose this flight on point for where we were going. It might not be hot enough in Blacksburg for you. If it's not, save these wines until it is brutally hot and then get them cold and bring them out and you'll love them. Any comments or questions from the chat room before we go hit the ocean?
Everybody's saying it's very hot in Blacksburg. So yes, ice down those wines and go for it.
I think Katie's dead on too. Get this sucker cold. I would make a strawberry margarita out of this wine.
So I was like, you know, we have a liquor license now. So for me, I would just keep prodding our bartenders. I'm like, when are we getting sangria? I'm like, this wine's good for sangria.
This is the sangria
holy
wine.
Crap, this wine for sangria. Ooh.
Put in a bunch of shaved ice and some fresh fruit.
Right?
I would just
it already has
throw in a shot of any liquor. I don't care. Throw in a shot of Lillet and a bunch of fresh fruit and a bunch of shaved ice. This is a snow cone wine. I want a snow cone and pour this wine on it.
Yeah.
This is an adult snow cone.
Or, you know, we could even like freeze it and do like a frozen drink with
frozen popsicles made from this rosé, although I don't think it freezes all the way.
So Jeanette just gave us frosé. Jeanette,
frosé.
Genius idea. Yes.
Frosé. We need to freeze this wine.
Ooh, Sean said wine popsicle.
Wine.
I think we do it.
I just said that. Wine popsicle. I just don't know if they'll freeze.
Will they? This is so much alcohol.
You might have to water it down. Oh, you could test it, but alcohol won't freeze. But if it's a small enough component of the grater, then it would be locked into the water crystals. I don't know. We'd have to test it.
That'd be awesome. Okay. Well, now we have goals.
I think we need to get a Snoopy snow cone machine, and anybody that even knows what I'm talking about is old as shit.
Dude, I had one of those as a kid.
And its name is the Snoopy Snow Cone Machine. That was the jingle.
Well, on that note, it's been
hey, thank you all so much for wasting
out,
your precious time hanging out with us. Let us know if you want us to keep doing this again next week. I'm always ready to pull the plug, but if people want it, then the people shall get what they want.
Yeah. We're going to go head in the water.
We're
Thanks
heading to the water.
Have a great
party on.
evening. How do I end this? There we go. Hey.